Said Gollum, and became quite polite. Perhaps she sits here and chats with it a bitsy, my precious. It likes riddles, perhaps, does it? Does it? He was anxious to appear friendly, at any rate for the moment, until he found out more about the sword and the hobbit, whether he was quite alone really, whether he was good to eat, and whether Gollum was really hungry. Riddles were all he could think of. Asking them, and sometimes guessing them, had been the only game he'd ever played with other funny creatures sitting in their holes in the long, long ago before the goblins came, and he was cut off from his friends far under the mountains. Very well, said Bilbo, who was anxious to agree, until he found out more about the creature, whether he was quite alone, whether he was fierce or hungry, and whether he was a friend of the goblins. You ask first, he said, because he had not had time to think of a riddle. So Gollum hissed, What has roots as nobody sees? He's taller than trees. Up, up it goes, and yet never grows. Easy, said Bilbo. Mountain, I suppose. Does it guess easy? It must have a competition with us, my precious. If Precious asks and it doesn't answer, we eats it, my precious. If it asks us and we doesn't answer, then we does what it wants, eh? We shows it the way out, yes? All right, said Bilbo, not daring to disagree.
Welcome to the show. We have a guest. Introduce yourself, guest.
Hello, guest.
Hi, guest.
Hi, I'm Greg.
Hi, Greg. You brought us 2 records today.
Yes, I brought you 2 gifts that I'm going to take back.
At this exact moment.
Yeah, so these records I actually got from a family friend of mine who actually passed away about 4 or 5 years ago now. And he was a huge nerd, and so many of the records are like Star Trek and just crazy things.
Yeah.
And then I found these in there, which is J.R.R Tolkien reads and sings The Hobbit and The Fellowship of the Ring.
And this one over here is The Two Towers and
Return of the King.
Exactly.
So when I was talking to these guys about their fancy little show here, I figured this would
fancy?
be... It's very fancy in this mansion pool house that we're sitting in right now.
That's what I mean, you know,
I like the garage door motif.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's really a garage door.
We built we built a whole garage door set, and then we're just like, oh man, we built this great garage door set. Why don't we just put all of these records all over it?
Yeah, it's got the garagey vibe.
Oh yeah, and this Watergate record really sells it.
Yeah, we're really like hipsters. We spend a lot of money to look poor.
This is my favorite one right there.
Oh, they're not gonna.
I'm not censoring it. I just want to touch the.
You just want to touch the button. Yeah. That was the first episode.
Said everyone throughout time.
Yeah. I think that's the title of this episode. I'm not censoring it. I just want to touch the button.
And it's settled.
So welcome to the show for those of you, because we actually didn't introduce the show.
I thought you were saying welcome to me again.
No. Fuck you.
Great.
Just in case you didn't know, this is 44 minutes. Which now has a subtitle tagline: "A record of records."
A record of records.
A record of records.
Yes.
Record like a record.
A record.
In that movie, That Thing You Do. Didn't even give you a chance.
Nope.
Shit.
We would have spent a whole episode of us trying to figure that out.
So before we launch into Tolkien, tell us a bit about yourself, just so the people at home or on a bus or a train.
Those are the only three places.
Home or a
that
bus
you can
or a
listen
train.
to this. Yeah, so I do stuff on the internet. Went to high school with these nerds over here, and I've been collecting records since middle school. Yeah. I dug through my dad's record collection, and then I took his turntable off to college, and then I've just been collecting ever since. So I have a relatively small collection. It's probably, I think it's like about 300 or 400 records. So it's coming along. It's modest, but I've got I have a whole bunch of rock and I don't know. Like basic stuff from the 60s, 70s, 80s,
the same
90s.
odds and ends, bits and pieces kinds of stuff that my record collection was built out of until recently.
And then down in the corner, I have one little section that's just got all these weird things. Most of them are from Ralph, who he left me these records, and there's like sound effect stuff. And,
a variety,
like the soundtrack to Blade Runner, and just really cool things.
I'd like to do sound effect records at some point, just because I want to talk about like that industry. That's true, and maybe we should come back and we should talk about those. But I think that'd be really interesting to dig into.
That's the way they people who were making films at home. That's how they would do like gunshots and stuff. Just as they would
rip it right
they'd use it and then throw it on the tape.
Whatever
Isn't that
works
crazy?
out. No, that's really cool. Oh god.
So a lot
movie making magic.
Making magic.
A lot of them are branded as film sound effects.
Okay, so specifically like home use kinds of. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's neat.
Falling in that same category as like haunted house records as something you just play in the process of.
Which I also have.
Haunted house records.
I have a couple of those.
I had a haunted house tape somewhere. I wonder if we should start doing tapes on this show or
that could be a whole different show.
Whoa.
Magnets, man. Magnets.
Let's stick with one archaic form of technology.
That's true, although tapes are starting to become popular again now, too.
I mean, it's higher fidelity than vinyls.
How am I going to date women if I can't make the mixtapes? That's how it works in LA, right?
I don't know. Yeah, you've been watching too much High Fidelity.
We should talk about
these.
We should talk about these at some point.
Back to the subject.
So these Tolkien records, obviously it's Tolkien reading his books on, onto a tape, but the big thing is that what was the context for him recording these?
Well, it's really cool because these were actually recorded in 1952. He actually was really frustrated because he wanted to publish the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but nobody wanted to publish it.
Right.
So this was actually recorded about 2 years before it was published. And he was on vacation, and essentially the guy who he was vacationing with, who put this record out, just said, hey, let's have like a fun thing, and you can read some of your stuff and I'll record it. And that's kind of how it came to be. And then this was actually released in 1975. I don't know if it was released any earlier. It looks like it might have been released in 1966, but this version is 75. And this is the version that I think we kind of see. It's fairly rare, I think.
The whole collection together is a posthumous release of a fair number of readings from across all the different books.
Yeah. What were you able to figure out? Because I know you did some research on availability. You said it was actually pretty pricey on Amazon, but Amazon isn't always the most reliable.
Yeah. What did it sell for? What are people actually buying it for?
Amazon showed some prices that were upwards of $9,900. Discogs, on the other hand, still priced it closer to 20 or so, and so
that sounds about right.
Yeah, it all depends on availability.
So it's not like hyper rare, but it's still like a collector would have to go looking for it and would have to be spending like $20 on it.
Compared to some of these other records that we've gotten for like $3.
Well, what is it? The Monty Python record, which we'll talk about in a later episode. That thing's like worth a surprising amount of money, and I got it for $4.
With a little clipped edge, unfortunately.
No, that's how it comes.
That's how it comes?
No, look at it, because it's like a box. It's a 3D effect on the box. Yeah,
that's
isn't it?
Cool.
I thought it was like that too, but that's just how it is.
Is it die cut too? Yeah, it is. Isn't it? Wow,
it's pretty cool.
We're getting some real deep industry talk right now.
Die cut?
The die cut.
I don't know.
Whoa, deep industry.
It just means something's cut out of the front so you can see the sleeve in there.
But
Anyway. I cannot read the fiery letters, said Frodo in a quavering voice. No, said Gandalf, but I can. The letters are Elvish, of an ancient mode, but the language is that of Mordor, which I will not utter here. This in the common tongue is what is said, close enough. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, in the darkness bind them. It is only 2 lines of a verse long known in elven lore. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie.
So, just on a pure enjoyment level, before we start digging into factual stuff, these were like really interesting to listen to.
I've seen most of the movies. Personally, they didn't really interest me. that much.
I like him. I'm not
visually amazing.
Right.
I got a little bored with it, but that's just my personal taste.
I think there's something too when you can read a book and you sit there and you pace yourself to it versus a book where you're subject to somebody else's pacing and having to go through a story at what they perceive.
But speaking of pacing, it's pretty fantastic to hear the guy who wrote this, and before it even was published, to hear him speak it, and like that's how it's supposed to be. I was kind of talking with you guys while we were listening to it, how it sounds. I was trying to count it out. It sounds almost like it's iambic pentameter, like the way he's the da 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 da. But it was really interesting to hear him do that.
And speaking of iambic pentameter, something that has to do with linguistic structure, he was, first and foremost, a linguist. He was a professor at Oxford and a number of other universities in England through the 1940s to the late 1950s. And his passion was creating languages and understanding language structure and reviving dead languages, basically, including, traditional Gothic and was it Gaelic or Welsh? One of those.
Welsh.
Yeah,
Welsh. And so the power of language and the way it sounds and how time and history and events across a culture's background influence that were his entire wheelhouse.
Shit. It's so eloquent, but no, really, it's kind of interesting. Like, what was it? We were listening to what podcast was it that brought up all the facts about Tolkien, and they brought up like he was a linguist first.
Yes, we pulled that from Mysteries Abound. And they pulled it from, I think it was mentalfloss.com. But it's a collection of lesser known facts about Tolkien, J.R.R Tolkien, who's the actual names I can't remember. James Ronald. No, I'm not gonna say Reagan.
Say Reagan.
Not gonna say Reagan.
Say Reagan.
Well, on that note, he was saying that this was like his hobby.
Yeah.
His hobby. And the Hobbit.
The Hobbit.
Well, The Hobbit was a kid's book, and I think I was reading on the back of here, George.
I still see it as being a kid's book myself. Sorry, keep going.
Well, when he was saying it, when he was reading it, he wasn't reading it like a kid's book, and so they walk through this.
Well, I think he just has respect for the intelligence of children.
But that was an observation that he was making on here, and it was really cool to think of that. And then jumping into a bit of the Fellowship of the Ring and accidentally listening to.
We were originally going to do one of the records, but like since they're both part of the same,
it makes total sense to
to have read them all.
They're just both being really nice because I accidentally didn't read which album I was putting on.
Well, they were in the wrong sleeves.
Well, that still could have been
very
Ralph.
easily been. You should have organized your records, Ralph.
But yes,
he was the biggest nerd. You guys would have loved him.
Yeah. Aw, man.
He was so cool.
I'm happy to do respect to him by talking about these things.
This is a tribute to Ralph at this point.
Yeah. I early on the last show that I worked on, we did an episode on a Duke Nukem game, and I dedicated that to him. And so this is like another dedication. He's just a really freaking cool guy. I wouldn't do any of the stuff that I do now when it comes to like video games and Star Wars, Star Trek. He was he was a college friend of my parents. And he was like the classic nerd where like he talked, okay guys, you want to come up and play some computer games?
Pocket protector.
And he was a lawyer too, so he was like loaded.
Loaded nerd.
Yeah. Oh. But this, I just find it I find this fascinating more than I actually find the book and the movies.
Well, because it really shows off that he was a linguist, that he was a guy who was in control of language, the pacing, the songs, where it's just like like I read Fellowship and I read The Hobbit when I was younger. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where like I watched the Bakshi cartoon of Lord of the Rings and the Bass Rankin Hobbit. No, yeah, Bass Rankin Hobbit, and then the Bakshi Lord of the Rings.
Oh, wow, that was fast.
Oh, fuck that. Let's just keep going. All right, but that's actually what I grew up on. That's what I associated with the most. Like actually hearing him like sing it and how the characters deliver it.
Just the enthusiasm.
the enthusiasm, but also like the way he delivers the whole like what it says on the ring in Fellowship, the way he reads it, because and this isn't like Ian McKellen. No, everyone who worked on those movies did a really good job. All the actors, but just I love his delivery of it, and that's something we'll have to include as one of the audio bits. Just it's got a bit more like push to it. It isn't like dramatic, heavy in that same way.
Yeah. Being read by the elf queen, like what was?
No, it was Gandalf.
Was it Gandalf?
Yeah.
Yes. Why are you staring at me? Yes, I believe Gandalf.
You've actually read the fucking books.
No, he read it when he put the ring into the fire in Bilbo Baggins' house before, no, it'd be Frodo, because it'd be the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring. Bilbo was the Hobbit, and he inherited the ring from him. Yes, I actually have to recount the story.
Though, right?
Bilbo's house, yes.
Yeah, you had it right.
Yeah, well, sort of. It's been a long time. I read them as a kid, and then started watching the different movie series at different times.
Yeah. Well, they know, the people.
Yeah.
If you don't pause it, go look it up, and
You're on YouTube, damn it.
We're going to take a pause here just so the camera doesn't cut out, because the Canons like to do that. But we'll be back in a second, so stay tuned.
You won't even notice it.
You won't even notice.
My hand will keep on moving. Actually, it'll do that anyway. It's true.
To Isengard, the Ents cried in many voices, to Isengard. To Isengard, though Isengard be ringed and barred with doors of stone, though Isengard be strong and hard and cold as stone and bare as bone, we go to war, to hew the stone and break the door. For bowl and bough are burning now, the furnace roars, we go to war. To land of gloom with tramp of doom, with roll of drum, we come. To Isengard with doom we come, with doom we come, with doom we come.
So we're back.
How great is the voice of Smeagol?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so good.
How cool is that?
His Gollum voice. It's not. He sounds like a weird Hobbit.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing. He's got all the things, but
that was 50 years prior to any sort of film.
Yeah. Although I still think the depiction of Gollum in the Bass Rankin cartoon is one of my favorites, just because my something birthday, the ring, my precious. It's like that.
Sounds like the guy from that old actor who was bless you.
Bless you.
That was fun.
Good times. Anyway, we're really since we are recording.
We could chop that out.
No.
we have a habit of not taking things out.
Even a sneeze.
Even a
you guys are crazy.
Whoa, crazy! I don't know. It's just like because there was such a pause and such a
flair for drama.
But no, right. You're saying it sounded like an actor. But what was the point we were on like just before? Or I guess we were just talking about The Hobbit. I guess now we should just talk about. Let's talk about just being in control of material, like how much of a great world builder he was. It's one of those things where I've actually tried to read Tolkien like since, like, and I don't really think. I think The Hobbit is the perfect example of it. It's a good, short, compact story. It's a wonderful adventure. It's a children's book that's like. It's a story for children, but it's just scary enough. It's just intelligent enough. Mm-hmm. It builds the world as it goes, which the movies surprisingly didn't follow through on, because he really felt it was that important to. What's the director's name? Peter Jackson. I like Peter Jackson, but he really felt he needed to like build out, every like minute detail that was plausible into The Hobbit, instead of just like. Really, you could have made like 1 3.5 hour movie and we all would have been pretty happy about it.
Yeah, but that doesn't make that much money.
Because $300 million is only so much.
Look, well, it's easy to say the money thing. I think Peter Jackson is just really that big of a nerd.
Yeah.
But it could have easily been done.
I feel like the studios have something to say about that as
well.
But
the studios aren't him going like, I'm going to pick out every detail in the Silmarillion.
Right.
Silmarillion, like pack it in there and like all the stuff from... The what is the appendix that was on the end of Return of the King that I know more about all the nerdy bullshit about Lord of the Rings than I actually do.
Than the actual story.
Yeah, because like I said, I tried to read it again and I couldn't. But he's such a fantastic world builder, and you were actually just about to make a point about J.R.R. Martin.
Speaking of world,
yes,
you could put that up on the screen.
Yeah.
You'll scan
he
this
actually
in.
I'll take a photo of it. But that is, I'm pretty sure that is Tolkien's art.
Is it?
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
hand done. Interesting.
And then just to show
him
the other one
in himself.
This is fantastic.
But the point I was actually just discussing before
we started
recording was that there's an interesting comparison that you can make between Tolkien and George R.R. Martin with his Game of Thrones series, and that's that Tolkien was a linguist who focused a lot on the macroscope, looking at a whole culture and the events across time that influence word choice and the way language is used, versus someone like Martin, who has a background in Hollywood script writing, dialogue, plot devices, and so you can see that each one has taken world building in a very different way. Martin has focused a lot more on the events that occur between specific characters or crossing paths or coincidence that cause a culture or historical events to progress forward, versus Tolkien, who looks at major wars and lineage of kings and things on the scope.
History.
Yeah, it's a scope that is much more intensified on why things have moved over time.
It's almost biblical.
Well,
exactly.
That's a
the son of this, who was the brother married to that whole.
And he was much more interested in books like The History of Middle Earth, where you had just an anthology of each different race's culture.
Yeah, and their own mutually assured segregation.
And well, that's the.
It's okay when it's mythological.
And there are like no women it's I can't remember where I heard this. I think it was like a Cracked article, but a few friends might have talked about this. How like the amount of women within like Tolkien's like actual universe, like functionally there are like a quarter of the women that there are of men or something like that.
They couldn't support the size of the population.
I'm probably getting that ratio wrong, but it is something like really obscene where it's just like, or maybe it's just like the important figures within the history, but.
I mean, that's a situation that's just being rectified within the last few years.
That's entirely true. We're also talking about a guy who, for as forward thinking as he was in his literature, was still,
Yeah,
but he's a product of his era.
Yeah. Something that was really cool is talking about his relationship with women. Is he was married to one woman his whole life, and he fell in love with her at 16, married her at 22. Yeah. And they were together until she passed away, and he passed away 2 years later.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is, I mean, who knows the real story of what happened, but just on the whole, that story right there,
that's really cool.
That's really respectable.
That. I don't know. I think George R.R. Martin, J.R.R. Tolkien. God damn it, that's
too close. Too close.
That was intentional. Martin, I believe, has admitted to taking the RR from Tolkien.
God damn it. But to be fair, they're very different kinds of fantasy writers. But I ultimately, Lord of the Rings itself, I found impenetrable for as much as I like The Hobbit. But I just have so much respect for what it was and what he was doing. And I understand why it's built the kind of fan base that it has. This is the guy who popularized the idea of world building within fiction on a certain scale.
And something that it gave us was how many Led Zeppelin songs are based off of the worlds that he's created.
Thank you for Led Zeppelin.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Some of the greatest songs.
And on top of that, I mean, we've talked about Martin already, but you wouldn't have things like Dungeons and Dragons, the whole world that's built. You wouldn't have popular series.
Well, I mean, most popular fantasy is people trying to ape Tolkien.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
And he was just honoring people before him.
Yeah. I will say a lot of people who try to copy Tolkien I don't like as much. I think Tolkien does Tolkien very well, and a lot of people who just want to use
which is the perfect example in this record. He's such an interesting character, and listening to this makes me want to go back and try to read the books and try to enjoy the movies more or something.
At least read The Hobbit. I will say that you can read it in a day.
It's a fast read.
No few had fallen, renowned or nameless, captain or soldier, for it was a great battle, and the full account of it no tale has told. So long afterward a maker in Rohan said in his song of the mounds of Munburg, we heard the horns in the hills ringing, the swords shining in the south kingdom. Steeds went striding to the stoning land as wind in the morning. War was kindled. There Theoden fell, Fengling mighty, to his golden halls and green pastures in the northern fields, never returning, high lord of the host. Harding and Guzlaf, Dunher and Derwin, a doughty Grimbold, Herifaran, Herubrand, Horn and Fastred fought and fell there in a far country. In the mounds of Munburg and a mould they lie with their league fellows, lords of Gondor. Neither Hyrluin the fair to the hills by the sea, nor Forlong the old to the flowering vales, ever to Arnach, to his own country, returned in triumph, nor the tall bowmen Derufin and Duilin to their dark waters, mirrors of Morthon and the mountain shadows. Death in the morning and a day's ending, lords took and lowly. Long now they sleep under grabber. Grey now as tears, gleaming silver red, then it rolled, roaring water. Foam dyed with blood flamed at sunset. As beacons mountains burned at evening, red fell the dew in Ram Masechor.
I mean, just a point to the criticism of the movies, just because I have to go back to it. But really, it takes less time to read The Hobbit, the book, than it actually takes to watch all three of those movies.
That's funny. I've only seen the first Hobbit one.
Yeah, I kind of liked it, but it was one of those things. Okay. He turned it into the prequel series that it was never. It's just like, come on, it's its own.
It was supposed to be a surreptitious development into The Lord of the Rings. It was, this ring that was magically able to make him invisible actually serves a much darker purpose.
Also, the battle of five armies in the book is like is a pretty short section that they turned into an entire movie. So, the last one. Nice. So that's a truth.
Money.
Money. It's all in the money.
Again, I want to defend Peter Jackson a little bit because
I'm sure that has a lot to but money.
That's true, but like I think it unfortunately has the same George Lucas consequence to it, where George Lucas is just like, no, I just need to fix it. It needs to be perfect. I just need to make my perfect thing.
Yeah, because Lucas doesn't want money.
Because Lucas doesn't want money. Why don't we have the original fucking trilogy, Lucas?
Well, I have it on VHS. I have it on DVD, Blu-ray. I don't have it on Laserdisc or Betamax, so I'm missing out.
Was it George Lucas disapproves?
Was it? Probably. Why wouldn't it be?
Of course. I've seen the widescreen Laserdiscs, which we had at the library in Santa Cruz, and a friend of mine has like some later pressings they did of that. I've seen the special features DVD that was included on the second set of the DVDs, and I have all of the despecialized editions, which I got somehow,
like magic.
Yeah, I didn't.
You got it legally.
I got it legally. I very legally got a re-edited copy.
Yeah, but see, money has nothing to do with it.
Money has nothing to do with it.
There's nothing to do with it.
Magic project. Is a great word to use.
It is an art project.
But speaking of money having nothing to do with it, this was totally just like a little vacation thing.
Oh yeah,
where he was frustrated that it wasn't getting published. And so he met up in Malvern, Worcestershire, and he and his buddy just got out a tape recorder and he just recorded some of it for fun.
Like
so it's just like a total.
This is this
passion.
Brilliant writer and linguist just like fucking around with his friend and like doing.
And supposedly, like the people who had him as a professor in Oxford, he was like. Made things really entertaining.
Yeah.
And he would screw with people and just have a great time.
He knew how to make history interesting because as his passion, he didn't want other people to feel that it wasn't worth their time.
Yeah, made it a little bit too interesting to the Nazis. But
the Nazis were huge fans because he was really big on sort of like Norse mythology and history and stuff like that.
He had a background with Beowulf, and some of you might know that from reading it, or also from the movie that came out, which was I think pretty much entirely unrelated to the book.
Well, yeah, but that's Neil Gaiman.
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Well, of course.
But that's. I'm not going into.
We can stay on this.
We can stay on this.
Stay on these bad boys.
I think what really makes it enjoyable is just going back to the fact that it's just him kind of dicking around and talking into a tape. I think it's what makes the delivery of it, because it's really he's doing it kind of for himself and like just. Like putting on a really good show of it with such ease and relaxation and stuff like that. And as you can hear him just like turning pages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I do wonder if there is, you brought this up, if there is like just a full recording of like the whole text in their pre-edited form.
I feel like I doubt it, because that would be hours. That would be hours and hours and hours and hours.
And there may actually be a technological limitation on something like that.
Yeah, like the amount of tape that you would have to go through.
So might adjustments like
I'm
that.
pretty sure it's just selected.
Yeah.
It seems like. Yeah. But I don't know did you see if there were any more?
There were a number of distributions. I can't quite tell the difference based on what I saw.
We'll post some links to it and some information, just because.
Yeah, some of them look like they were reproductions, like brought together into a full like dual vinyl set, but there might have been a couple more recordings on top of these. But it's still fairly limited.
Yeah, and then you mentioned when we first took it out, listening to the wrong one actually, but side A on this is 29 minutes and 47 seconds.
Which is really unusual. It means that they we've
it's
talked
just
about
really
this,
tiny grooves.
tiny grooves, which
when it's spoken word off a tape recorder, it makes sense.
Yeah. But no, like, I mean, for those of you,
the frequency range that you need is this compared to like that,
Yeah. Whereas if you had really tight grooves on like a music record, it would just sound like shit.
Yeah, there's bootlegs that are just god awful.
Yeah.
Like I have a Blur Modern Life is Rubbish on this slime green vinyl from like the Czech Republic or something.
Would you say that the recording is rubbish?
It is.
Okay.
It's terrible. It's like
it's
20 really decibels lower than what it should be. And so anything you turn up is just overdriving and distorting. But you don't need that in this.
I think
and
we
you
should
get half an hour. Straight Mr. J.R.R. Tolkien.
But the best part is that half an hour segment is Riddles in the Dark from The Hobbit.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the best dialogue.
That's one of the best things he's ever written. I think one of the best.
Hobbits is.
But it's, I don't know, it's one of my favorite like English language passages. It's just it's so interesting because it's like kind of scary and it's fun
and that's why it makes me think that it's just sections.
It's just certain sections, yeah.
Because he was obviously proud enough of that one to do like the whole thing, and they included the whole thing.
Yeah. All right, thank you for bringing these over. This is
I'll
just do one last kind of money shot of both of these wonderful things.
Yes, absolutely.
I can say money shot. If anything, the light might be reflecting off of these, but you're going to see big pictures of it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say look out for these, and if you get the chance, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, I'm pretty sure if you're a big enough fan, you probably already know about these.
Yeah.
If you're like a fan of the movies, or like
you're
just getting into the books or something like that. See if you can find, like, I don't know, maybe hunt around YouTube to see if there are any copies of it there, or
listen to it because it'll jazz you up,
or buy a copy of it, or if you want to collect records, and you collect records, which is probably the only reason you'd be watching this show.
They are an interesting collection piece.
On that note, I've been collecting records since probably like 98 or 99 or something, and I've never seen. I've never seen another one of these before.
Yeah.
Ever. In any record shop. Never come across them. Maybe I've just never looked in the right sections, but I've never seen them before.
Probably going to be like an online hunt or something like that.
Yeah.
They are available, as we did discuss earlier.
They're out there.
Depending on how much you're willing to pay.
Just don't fucking buy it on Amazon. No offense to Amazon, but like their marketplace prices can be really
now sponsored by Amazon.
Now sponsored by Amazon, except that's not.
No.
That won't happen.
Come on, Amazon. Come on.
Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in, and again, a very special thank you for Greg coming by with these fantastic pieces of history.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'd love to have you again sometime.
I got some other weird records, so I will totally be back.
We'd be stoked on it.
Awesome.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.
See you on the flip side.
Wax on, wax off. Oh, is that like a record thing?
I am trying that as hard as I can.
He's trying so desperately. Cut.
Trying is the operative word.
Exactly.
And that's the end of the episode.
Thank you very much for sticking around and watching the whole thing.
Like, subscribe, comment, click down below the thingy.
Exactly. And then click the other thing for the other thingy.
And then watch our other videos, and then watch the next video, and watch the last video, so watch our things.
We promise they're very similar, but very enjoyable.
Have a good one. Bye.